101. Struck him out. 99 topside. Struck him out. 101 with a vapor trail.
You push up, I push down. Good. Showing off. Push out. Good.
Just blow your fucking arm off the board.
Yeah. Push in. Good. Push in. Good.
So I got TJ in the fall of 2017, my first pro ball season. The recovery was tough. At first was just trying to restore as much range of motion in my elbow as I could. And then after that was like building a lot of strength back in and around my shoulder and then in my whole body. I feel like, or a lot of injury prevention. Sometimes it's just luck staying healthy, but I think a lot of it is building up your body, like strength-wise and mobility-wise, to like try to take as much force off the throw as you can of your, like off your arm, and allow your body to produce as much force as it can. Again, to start just cleaning up my range of motion in my arm and getting that straight, and then flushing out all inflammation. And then it was like really starting to get in the weight room and like really get strong again and get stronger than before and start moving in better patterns that would like ultimately help me try to stay healthy in the future, right? Like getting surgery, I feel like the whole goal is to try to identify like the issues on why you got hurt in the first place, and then try to attack those and as much as you can. So that was a lot of my rehab. Luckily, I've been able to stay healthy since, but it's also why you see me do stuff like this. TJ opened my eyes to a lot of things. Like I would say prior to getting Tommy John, I was never the hardest worker. The weight room was stuff I never like focused on a ton. I'm not sure why. I think some of it's because like I never really had to. I was able to just have some success doing what I was doing. So getting surgery kind of opened my eyes to like, all right, I need to like do more than actually just throw to get good at the sport. My delivery, I tried to change I tried to clean up my arm path a little bit. I felt like my arm path was a little like late. So I landed and my arm was like, you know, I feel like now you try to preach guys that are like inside 90 and like your arm's flipped up already at foot strike. I was like pretty late to that process. I think I had like an inverted W at the time, so I tried to get my arm swing a little bit better. And then again, I think a lot of the patterns you can develop on the mound can be developed in the weight room, and like training a lot of the similar movement patterns that you go through during a delivery, like, you know, like a split stance position, or like lunging or split squatting or pistol squatting or lateral lunging. And so that was a lot of the stuff I focused on as well. My delivery is a lot different from pre-Tommy John to post. During the season, I always do a lot of cupping and scraping on my arm, on my shoulder and my forearm and whatnot. But at the same time, it kind of varies in the sense that things pop up throughout the season that, you know, you have to just address at different times. So like, I try to harp on a pretty good mobility routine and movement routine prior to me throwing every day that I've kind of found something that's worked for me. It's like, you know, between rolling out and mobility drills and movement patterning drills that I've gathered throughout the years from different coaches and trainers. I do that every day. I think finding routine is really important, and something that you find as you go up the ladder from college to minor leagues to big leagues. You tend to see every big leaguer have like a pretty dialed in routine, and a guy that like generally knows his body and understands what he needs to do to stay healthy. Whereas I found in college and I was at the lower levels, a lot of guys just kind of go through the day without any sort of like process. So pretty good routine has been nice for me to do every day. And then, yeah, I try to get on the training table and do stuff like this with, you know, PTs and trainers that, you know what they're talking about and whatnot, to help do the heavy lifting and help reduce soreness and inflammation and whatnot. It's tough. I mean, in the show, if you're a reliever and you're pitching well, you're kind of like hot all the time. I think this year I threw 69 appearances. The year before I threw 70, so like a pretty decent bit. you got to try to adopt the philosophy, I think, of like less is more. I think a lot of guys, especially like in here, as they're trying to like get better and like throw harder, like it's like they're just doing so much stuff. And like, I do think to a degree, less is more. You got to find like what works for you and like what gets the most bang for your buck. Because I don't know, at least for me, like the season's 6 months long, you're playing pretty much every day. Spring training's another 2 months long where you play every day. So like, I'm doing the same for 8 months straight. So you gotta find a way to like do that helps you, but at the same time, you're not doing this like hour-and-a-half long monotony where you're gonna drive yourself insane. So you gotta find ways when to push it and when to not. So like days after I throw, I take it a little lighter, just stuff like that.
The big thing, as you mentioned, you got to understand that's a whole kinetic chain, so you can't just focus on where the scar is, but you got to look up and down the body. So understanding that everything works together as a unit, you have to produce force from within as well as reabsorb that force. So again, just taking a holistic approach and not just focusing right where you see the scar or where you felt the pain. Basically, the philosophy of treatment is you want to improve sensory motor integration. So it's a fancy way of saying, how well does the athlete know their body? Are they getting information that they can trust into the brain? How quickly can they actually process that information? And how accurate is that muscle reaction or muscle response going to be? When that information becomes muddied, they're going to have inconsistencies, things are going to get tight, they're going to lose range of motion, power, stability, all that kind of stuff. Our goal with treatment is to basically maintain and clarify that information going in, so they have the cleanest information going out, and that's going to prolong their career and ultimately maximize their performance outing to outing and over the duration of a career. Just having a clear understanding of what works and what doesn't work, knowing that you have to play during season ultimately possibly every day. So it's going to having that routine that you can be sustainable with, not overworking, just trying to force through. Sometimes less is more. Ultimately having a team like Tread that's going to have a coach, a therapist, a well-rounded interaction, so you can actually have the honesty around you to keep you in check of when you're doing too much, not doing enough. Having a team around you and knowing yourself well enough not to fall into the traps when things go bad or get too caught in the hype when things go good, and letting the stuff that got you successful fall off to the wayside. I mean, for the most part, it's sensory motor integration, that understanding of information going in, processing, coming out, that all stays the same. He probably has a better idea of where he's at just because he's gone through those earlier stages. So I mean, like, the perspective of all that kind of stuff is, and that insight is pretty key. So it's helping those early guys understand how can we fast track that level of knowledge, right? Like, if it's your first injury, you're probably going to panic. If he's had it before, he kind of understands the groundwork, but he also has the team around him. Like, he understands how to utilize that within coaches, therapists, all that kind of thing. So there's probably more education early on, but my philosophy is the same no matter what.
All you're up?
Thank you. Yeah.
That was quick.